Mhm.
Good afternoon, and excited again to be joined by another one of our leaders here at the City of Hartford in honor of our Soul of Service Black History Month Leader Interview Series. This interview actually is very near and dear to my heart because I spent about a decade living in Still Village right before I worked for the city. And so, very, very honored to have a conversation with the director of the North Hartford Promise Zone, Courtenay Jackson. How are you, Courtney?
Doing well.
Doing well. Awesome.
Happy
Thank you so much
Thursday.
for Happy Thursday, Friday Eve.
That too, yeah.
We're really happy that you took the time out of your busy schedule. I know that there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now in North Hartford, lots of programming, lots of initiatives. So thank you for taking the time to really have this conversation with us this afternoon.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
And happy Black History Month. So, Courtney, what we've been asking people to get started is to tell us a little bit about themselves personally. This interview series is really supposed to help kind of humanize the folks who are doing work here in Hartford, who are leading work here in Hartford. And so, if you could share with us your hometown and like a little bit about your family of origin, like do you have siblings? Are your parents from Connecticut? We would love to hear that
Yeah.
information from you.
I am Hartford. I'm born and raised here in Hartford. My family's been from the north and the south end of Hartford and Charter Oak Terrace and Stowe Village. So um all of my roots really stem from Hartford, born and raised, like I said, and it's exciting to be able to serve my community and just having all that historical, data embedded in my brain by parents, family members, friends, and then also being able to see people in the community grow and change from, outside, playing crate ball to, being in offices and supporting our community. So it's exciting.
Awesome. And we're really happy to have you, a person who knows the community, doing such important work in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with the North Hartford Promise Zone?
Okay, so my role in the North Hartford Promise Zone is basically to try to support um, everything that goes into it as far as health, housing, economic development, education, jobs, and public safety. So basically anything to try to bring up the North End of Hartford to the other levels of where we are in the rest of the city and the rest of the state. So, trying to provide supports in all of those areas. And I think one of the biggest thing is creating access. So from a community member perspective, I'm trying to create access to all programs, services, supports, and help individuals in the community navigate the systems on how to get things done. So, whether that's with the hospital, with Hartford Public Schools, anything that you could possibly need to knock down barriers in your community. I mean, for your family, I'm there to support. And then, sort of behind the curtain, I'm there to support those same organizations in getting access to individuals in the community, leverage some of the existing programs so we're not all out there trying to do things on our own. Really, you hear the term a lot, the silos and the phrase, let's break down silos. I'm actually on a daily basis working towards that and try to just make sure that all of our organizations and entities in Hartford are working towards the greater good for the individuals here. So it's always exciting work. The good thing about it is when you see my face, I'm there to help in any aspect.
That's really awesome that you are very much a collaborative leader, a convener of people on behalf of a place that you know very well, right? Like firsthand.
Definitely, definitely.
What
And I was about to say the work is everything that I'm involved with is led by community voice. So, a lot of times we have meetings and residents, they speak their piece, but they don't feel that they're heard. Trust me, I hear it and I'm using it, when it comes time to write grants or develop strategies, is seeped in that community voice, both through my experience myself and through what I've heard and, talking to young folks all the way down to the babies. up to, you know, some of the our elders who still have great information and really know what we need and understanding the culture of Hartford, which is, I promise you, different than any other place you'll meet, you'll go to in the country based off of my experience.
Yeah, Hartford definitely is unique. And shout out to you for really being able to kind of bring together that intergenerational perspective
Mhm.
around meeting community need. So, Courtney, I'm not sure. Did you answer my question about
Yeah.
um family of so like
Okay,
where are
so
your
so
parents from?
family,
What hospital were you born in?
Mount Sinai Hospital was where I was born. To be honest, what I know of my family sort of starts at my grandmother level, and she's from Chado. Um, and on my other side, I know for my family, it sort of just starts at my grandparents' level. I don't really know much about that. I know that there's some type of island in there. Um, I don't know how and when, but I know it's in there somehow, especially by just movements in the soca music that's played at all the cookouts. Um, and then on the other side, my folks are from Georgia and from Florida. So that has nothing to do with the semi accent I have. I have no clue where that came from.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Beyonce
we're
album?
probably
Texas Hold'em?
right.
No.
I know. So really we're, you know, from my standpoint, Hartford is what I know. And my family are the folks from here and the extended family from here.
Awesome. So you said at the grandparent level, Georgia, and you named another southern state,
Florida and
Florida
Georgia,
and Georgia. Okay.
on one side, and then on my mom's side, we we so Hartford.
Awesome. You know, a lot of the leaders that we've had a chance to interview have talked about, you know, sort of like having ties to North Carolina, to Georgia, to Florida, to Alabama. And so definitely want to highlight that as like a
Mhm,
theme and a thread, right? That a lot of people have migrated north for better opportunities. So
mhm,
I think that that kind of informs the historical perspective of how do we end up with, you know, a Director Jackson here
mhm.
for North Hartford Promise.
Definitely.
Really awesome. So how long have you worked for the city and what attracted you to this position?
So I've been here for 7 years. Prior to working at the city, I was the senior director of programs at the Urban League of Greater Hartford. And you know, I spent, you know, I opened up the building and I closed the building. And I love being a part of the Urban League because it was, again, supporting my community. And my goal and my vision is that if I make the community better, then it's a better place for my kids. Um, and that's where I sort of get my energy, just seeing others do better. So I was on a track to become a CEO. I was in the training programs at Urban League, um, but I got to that point and made it through, and I'm just like, I don't believe my network is strong enough to be the senior leader of an organization. So I wanted to develop my network. Like I knew how to handle the building, the staff, the programs, the budget, all of that stuff was good. But I'm like, when I was just thinking about my development and the growth, I wanted to be able to grab my phone and call other leaders in my community because again, I really believe collaboration is key in getting the work done. And I just happened to be in a meeting with Thea that was a little boisterous at the time, and I sat up and spoke towards, you know, us having the opportunity to collaborate and help settle some things down a little bit, and we had some conversations. And it was around the time when the city received the Promise Zone designation, and Thea had the role for a second, helping put the things together, but I was the first official hire to handle the work for the North Hartford Promise Zone. So I was excited about having an opportunity to be the first, but also knowing I would be able to have interaction with state, federal, local government, all of the, you know, organizations in the city, churches, you know, private organizations, and still be able to touch my folks in the community. So I thought that was just the next evolution in my growth. And at the same time, really move the needle in a space where I thought that I can be extremely helpful in.
So the CEO program that you were in, was that to become CEO of the Urban League or another organization?
Urban
Oh, for
League.
the Urban
Yes,
League specifically.
yes,
Interesting.
they're constantly looking at sustainability and who's up next and
And like
they have
leadership succession.
yes, success
I love
exactly.
that.
It's a very robust program. It was a year long, and then you end up you know doing a case study that um, our case study was actually trying to figure out where to place a new urban league down, and I believe it was South Carolina at the time, and we had to research it and figure out who would be on the board, and that information is actually used to open up new urban leagues. So it was a great experience, and you had the best folk. I don't want to call them professors because they were professionals that came in and taught us the business. And like I said, as a
We
year
call
long
them
board,
professionals. Professionals.
perfect. I will keep that. I will keep that. But yeah, we did that, and it really felt good. You really feel accomplished, and you understand the business of nonprofits better and what it takes, not only from running the show, but also the network you need to have, fundraising, all of that good stuff. So shout outs to Urban League. Shout out to
Shout
Mrs.
out to shout out to who?
Mrs.
Who's the last
Cochran. She's actually the current
Mrs.
CEO at the YWCA.
Yes.
She brought me on board
Adrian.
and cleaned me up, washed my
Oh,
face and got me um, standing straight so that I could be in the position I'm in today. So I really appreciate her.
yeah, absolutely. And just shout out to leaders who recognize talent and put people in place. You're
Yes,
talking about Adrian, you referenced Thea Montanez, who is the city's current COO. So absolutely, we can't have Black leaders in place and supported without people who are willing to put them in place and to elevate them and support them in their roles. So that is
100%.
phenomenal. And shout out to Urban League because I took a number of classes there when I was trying to buy my house, right? Like I
Mhm.
had to go through a program. Miss Hazel, and I can't remember the other
Yeah.
lady's name. Is
Who?
it
Val Jean? Was it Val Jean?
Val? Miss
Yes,
Val and Miss
yes. Miss
Hazel.
Val.
Um,
Yes, yes.
they
I
really
loved it.
they said they empowering communities and changing lives. They meant that, they
Right.
actually did that. I've done I've done that class maybe 3 times. Because like you have to do it annually
That's
when you're
right.
trying to purchase a house. So I've
Yeah,
sat through that a number of times, but it definitely it's a game changer for me, to be
yeah,
a first time home buyer, to be able to have access to that program. So
definitely.
it's cool to think that you might have been the CEO of the Urban. We're happy to have you here,
Yes,
but good
yes,
to know that other places, we're positioning you and prepping you
yes.
to
And
continue
and
your
I
leadership in the city.
I wanted to touch on what you just said about, making a space for the next person, for, other Black leaders, future leaders. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. Like I really believe when you look at your tree, the folks that you either hired or supervised or help move ahead, like that's what it's all about. Especially in a space where I know me coming up, I didn't know what I didn't know. So along the way, I had to make every mistake humanly possible. And failing is a good teacher. But had there been something in place for me, I could have avoided a lot of potholes. But again, I appreciate the experience of coming up. But my goal is to when I leave working, that I could look back and see, a group of young folks that I helped put in position, and to me, that's what success looks like.
And you kind of answered a few of my next questions in that question. So I'm trying to think. So, um, how do you feel that you are either making or contributing to Black history in the city of Hartford? And I know you haven't talked about it, but you do more than the
Yes,
director of the North Hartford Promise Zone. So if you can delve into some of your other servant
definitely.
leadership, that would be awesome.
So definitely. So when I think about Black history in reality, I'm thinking about the kids. 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 I'm thin and the same thing I do in parenting, I do in trying to connect with the community, especially the young folks. I have two hard rules that I follow or guidelines, and then the third one is kind of iffy. But number one, is it safe? So I want to make sure that my community is safe, and the kids that I come interaction with, that they're safe. And then two, you're in a position to chase your dreams. And the third one is hopefully we like each other by then, but that's not a requisite. I'm all right as long as you're safe and you're able to be in a position to chase your dreams. So when I think about that, I put that into coaching. I'm currently actually I'm the first, what I've been told, the first African American head football coach at Hartford High School, and it's the second oldest school in America. So I'm going into my third year as the head coach
Can you run that back?
there. Bring it back. So Hartford High is the second oldest school in America, and I am the first African American head football coach at the school ever. And I'm going into my third year there. So yeah, yeah. And it's exciting too, and it's funny to also be able to show the youth what we can look like in at different levels. So one day I might show up with my hoodie on, hat low, all that good stuff. And the next day I show up with a shirt and tie and jacket. And the first response is, where you going? Where you coming from, church? And it's like, no, we can go to work and dress like this. Like, this is an opportunity. So um opening their eyes and their experiences to different opportunities. Like, that's really, again, where I get my energy from. It's cool when you're coaching too, because over a 3-4 year period, you get to see so much change in a young person. And I know you have kids, and you just think about freshman year to now, it's dramatic, and you can really see the change. And I get to see that on a regular basis. And also in my spare time, that's not really spare time. I'm the vice president of the Hartford Wildcats organization. So there's 250 to 350 youth going through that program on a yearly basis. And it's a family setting, which is exciting. And you're talking about how can we work collectively to make a better space for our kids. you know how do we get to college as close to free as humanly possible? How do we keep the kids together? All of those things are conversation, but they're community conversation. They're our village. So I'm gonna get on the soapbox here. Don't take your kids out of Hartford schools if you're a Hartford resident, because we need those kids, not just for sports, but we need them in the schools, and we need you as parents supporting our kids, because as a parent, the more involved you are, the better education that our kids will have. So off the soapbox, that sort of went left, but yeah.
And I will, I have been a magnet parent through different iterations for
Mhm.
different providers, right? But I'm here with you, and soapbox permitted, right? We give our guests the platform to say what they want to say. So that's
Yes.
wonderful. And I really appreciate that you are thinking about securing Black futures, right? In your work with North Hartford Promise, and also in your servant leadership, as the first Black head coach of the second oldest high school in America. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And I didn't know that you were making history in that way. So this is great.
Yeah. Well, we're making history because I stood on a lot of shoulders to be able to be in that position. When I think about the mentorship of my first football coach and my uncle, and even I'll tell a quick story here, and I think it's key to me being involved with football, and even going on to college. But when I moved out of Stowe Village, I moved over to across the street from what we called the Hut. And I think I had an event to go to. I had on my creased khakis, and asked my mom, could I go outside? And she's like, okay, just don't get dirty. And I went outside, and a group of kids were playing football. And I didn't know anybody, and I'm just like, can I play? And I remember a couple of them saying, "Oh, he's too little. Don't let him play." And one of them, um, Terry, actually, I coached his son. I mean, his nephew this past year. Um, but he said, let him play, and I ended up doing really well and having some really, really deep, sharp grass stains. But I made some lifelong friends, and that became our connection point that we always played football and basketball together. And I don't know if I would have been as interested in it if I didn't have that one experience, that one person saying, let them play. Now it didn't go too well when I got back home with the grass stains, but it ended up being a really good day. So um, that's sort of, I think, the starting point to my connection with the sport of football. So yeah,
That's so beautiful. Kudos to Terry from the Hut. The Hut, is that what we're
yes,
going?
and this is the first
Where's the
time.
Hut?
The Hut, that's on Wadsworth Street.
Okay. Kudos to Terry. Kudos to Terry
Yeah,
for
yeah,
creating space for you to be able to be included. And a lot of what we talk about in this field of like equity, diversity, and inclusion is just how much talent is left on the table when you don't
yeah.
enable people to discover and uncover their gifts, right? And
Right,
so I
right.
think that that's awesome because Terry gave you that opportunity to do that, and now you do that for so many people in so much
Exactly.
of your work. And just appreciate that and appreciate you for that. So, what do you find to be most meaningful about your position or about serving the residents of Hartford?
I think the most meaningful piece to my work is making sure that at every table there's community representation there. There's community voice. Um, there was a time, growing up where I just think back to myself where I didn't think about what happened at City Hall. I didn't think about all of the systems. Things were just happening. And I think we're in a time and a space now that as a community, we're figuring out what works best for us. Like we're just coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
Our the natural things that we would do, far as where we would spend time and fellowship with each other, has
Hmm.
changed. Um, work life has changed. Some people are doing virtual things, some people are not. It's so much going on that's different since even the last 5 years, and I'm not even going to talk about the last 10 years. That as these new issues come up, as these new opportunities come up, us as residents have to make sure that we're part of that conversation to help decide what's going to be the future of Hartford. And while my work is specifically targeted toward the North and the Hartford, I'm still a Hartford resident. So I'm thinking about the entire Hartford when we're doing it. And a lot of times, providing services in the North End, we're small enough that you're actually doing it citywide. So we're really just figuring out also, how do we work together as a community? What does that look like? What's the best places and the best setting to grab community voice and make sure that that's at the table of any decision? And as part of the Promise Zone work and the Send Pipeline work, which I'm the lead for at the city, we've made sure that again we have individuals there and that they have a stipend or that they're paid for, because that was one of the
Yeah,
first
that
things that I
matters.
didn't like. I remember having my first Promise Zone meeting here at the city, and it was around 12:30 or 1 o'clock, middle of the afternoon, and all these people were around the table, and the Miss Helen Nixon was one of the community members there, and we really wanted to hear from the community members. And I really realized when I looked in the room, I said, wait a minute, we're here to listen to them. They're paying for parking. They're not getting paid. They're taking time out of their day from work or whatever they have. But everyone else here is at their day job. Um, so I wanted to fix that. So trying to make things as convenient as possible, changing the times that we meet, and then just trying to treat them as valued seats at the table. So I think, like I said, the biggest thing has been to ensure that community voice has been involved with all of the work that I do.
That's awesome. And it's awesome that you are thinking about how to create more equity and including community voice as well. So
Yes,
definitely appreciate you for that.
yes, yes.
So you told us you were born in Mount Sinai?
Mount Sinai, yes.
Mount Sinai. What other ties and connections do you have to Hartford? And like, what are some of your favorite things to do in the city,
Hmm.
places to go in the city? We would love to know. Um,
Yes. I mean, like I said, I've been in Hartford always. So um I love to pop in the sisters for breakfast before they close place to be. Um, I still get my hair cut. Shout out to Bookman over there. Um, everything I do when you think about your money going in the circle, staying in community, um, I live that because I love supporting the people not only that live here, but I have meaningful relationships with. So I think those are a couple of places that come to mind, especially as a black man. The barbershop is sort of like a safe haven. He's sort of my mental health um, support, and at the same time, cleaning me up because sometimes I'm looking crazy out here. Um, but I would say those couple of things. And then far as ties, I think, I would say it's actually ties in relationships to with people in the community through sports. Sports has been just a connection point for me. My son was in love with it, so I supported it and doing something, volunteering in a space where I didn't think I had time until I made time. Um, so those are like the key ties to Hartford, and also my family is here. Nana's here. Um, the Moose Lodge. The Moose Lodge. Yes, yes. I don't drink except for when I'm with Nana at the Moose Lodge. So that's the hang up spot.
Interesting.
Yes.
I've asked that question of a number of people. The Moose Lodge has yet to come up, but it will definitely go
You
on the
you have to
list.
be a distinguished member of the Moose
Oh,
Lodge
oh,
for
sorry.
you.
Invite
No,
only.
it's very similar to an Elks type club.
Ah,
It's on the South End. And it's something that my Nana and my grandfather at the time really got excited about. So we supported as a family.
oh
Um,
wow. That's really
and
cool.
that's sort of our unofficial hangout spot as a family. But I am a member, and you have to swipe your way in. It makes you feel cool. So
Ah, there are cards
yes, yes, Moose Lodge Cow. And there's Moose Lodges across America.
where you can just swipe and get up in there. And awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. And then you were able to kind of shout out your barber, which I think, a lot of these spaces where we're getting personal care done are therapeutic spaces for people. For certain, when I get my hair done, when I get my nails done, it's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
debriefing. And as you were talking, I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if they did like barbershop therapy? Like you go into a private room to get your hair cut, and you sit with your
I would say I'll tell you right
and you sit
now.
with your therapist.
I'll tell you right now. It might have been in front of people, but I was definitely getting therapy just growing up because you're able to speak about. And he's been my barber since I would. He's actually from Stowe Village, and he's been cutting my hair since then. And I think I was maybe 7 years old when he started cutting my hair. So,
Wow.
so he's cut my hair. He's cut my son's hair. Um, and it feels good also to see his growth growing from there to having his own space.
An
Um,
entrepreneur. What neighborhood
yeah.
is that in, the barbershop?
Oh, it's still in the north in the
In the
Hartford
north
is
end? Okay.
right on where Stouffville used to be. So it's Main Street. Um,
It's
oh,
okay. We won't hold you to it.
it's by the smoke shop. It's by
Oh, okay.
all of that good stuff.
Just a good
The
turn.
sportsmen, all of that down in
Oh,
that
that area.
area.
Got it.
Yes.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, Director Jackson,
Yes.
aka Coach Court, as we like to call you.
Yes.
We've had an opportunity to talk about your background, your upbringing, Mount Sinai, Stowe Village, Grass Stains, Urban League,
Yeah.
CEO, but no, coming over to the city of Hartford. It's been awesome to hear your journey, and our hope is that people will be able to look at you, look at your path, look at your candor, and say, wow, one day I could absolutely be a leader in my city and do similar things, right? Um, but what would you say to someone who is either considering coming to the city of Hartford to work or who's interested in doing the type of community building leadership work that you do?
Mhm. When you were asking the question, the first thing that came to mind was I've been in spaces where I hear people say um, they're not doing anything. They're not taking care of potholes. They don't care. They're not remove the they and put yourself in that space. Be the leader of change. And I think there's a space for that. So it becomes a we and not a they. And when I think about all of the great people that work here at the city as well that I've come to know and build relationship with, um, they're just as much Hartford as the people in the community, and they care just as much. So when you're outside looking in, you might think that there's a separation, but it's really not. And I think this is a space where one, you can help your community, and two, you could build a life for your family, both financially as an employee, but also being in leadership roles that'll help dictate the flow of things in Hartford. Um, it's a win-win. And I would love to see more people who were born and raised here um, walking through the offices. I'm always here to support. And it's the same thing. Just be a part of the solution. Don't just be a person who just identifies the issues. Yeah.
Yep, the we and the me, right? It's like you
Me
turn
and
the
me.
W upside
Right.
down.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much,
Mhm.
Coach Court, Director Jackson, for being here with us this afternoon in honor of Black History Month. We've been highlighting Black leaders across the city of Hartford all month long, and I feel like this is a very fitting note to end on. You're actually our final interview, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not only a person who's making Black history, but you're securing Black futures through the work that you're doing. And we're really grateful to have you here at the City of Hartford. Not that you wouldn't have been wonderful at the Urban League, right? But we're really grateful to have you here and to have someone who knows the community, believes in the community, and is working to make it better every day. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for spending the time with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much. Happy Black History Month, everybody.
Yes.